really white Midwestern for accent.
All right. We are live. What's up, Warriors Nation? I am Jared Banks. Banksy, as the kids like to call me, and we are joined, Warriors Nation, by four very special guests to make this announcement. First, the president of Utah Youth Rugby, Mr. Owen Power. How are you, my friend?
Doing just great.
It's good to see you. It's been a while since I've been able to chat with you. Also, Brandon Sparks, director of rugby for Utah Warriors Rugby. How are you, mate?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
And dealing with the time change, the head coach of the Utah Warriors, Mr. Chris Latham. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Excellent.
Going well.
Thank you guys for being here and for this exciting announcement and really taking the next step in establishing, the four pillars of Utah Warriors Rugby and focusing on our community and tradition here. And I know, Brandon, for you, this was a big deal as we get started in announcing the combination of Utah Youth Rugby into the Utah Warriors Academy and what that means for the development of our traditionally strong youth programs here in Utah and what that means now as part of our Pathways program that we've been talking about for the last couple of seasons here. Why don't you go ahead and open it up and talk about what exactly is going on here with Utah Youth Rugby and the Utah Warriors coming together?
Yeah, so with the partnership here, our effort is to be able to support the all-star programs here in the state of Utah and further develop not only the players but also the coaches and get them into our pathway. This will be the entry point for our high-performance Utah Warriors pathway, which is important. And, there is great talent here in the state. We saw three former alumni of this all-star program, Dom, Bailey Wilson, and Sione make debuts in the MLR squad at this previous season. So, yeah, we see it as a great tool to help develop an already very rich rugby talented community here in the state of Utah.
It was one of the reasons we were so excited about getting a franchise here in Utah. Owen, talk about this now as a big step for you, and it feels like you've been waiting for this connection for years and years and years, and finally here come the Warriors as that bridge. As you've gone through with so many of the great programs here, of course, the history of Highland, we're talking about United, the onset of Harriman, and other many big schools and clubs like West Warriors now, and this great pool of high school talent now. Owen, how do you see this continuing to grow from the youth rugby perspective?
Thanks, Banksy. This is really exciting. This really takes us to that next level that we've just been aching for. Utah high school rugby is certainly amongst the best in this country, and our high school teams are ranked in the top 10 nationally every single year. We've got previous national champions in Highland and United. Both even with the girls too. I mean, We've got championships with the girls. So this is going to be phenomenal. We've been running a really strong all-star program in the Utah Cannibals. These players have gotten to travel to England where they did really well in the Roslyn Park Sevens there. Our all-star team has won regional cup tournaments across the country, sevens and 15s events. So really, really strong, but it's kind of always been, okay, well, it's done now, off to college, there's nothing more to do. And you're right, the introduction of the Warriors has been exciting. It's given kids a pathway. They can see that there's somewhere that they can go. But this is now kind of rounding out that link. We've done the best that we can with an all-star program, but now to have an academy through the Warriors to really take control of that, just suddenly feels like you're right in South Africa or New Zealand or Australia. That's just the way it needs to be.
Now, right on cue there, let's go to head coach Chris Latham. Latho, as you look now, as we continue to build this community and build on these stepping stones, it was one of the first things you said in a meeting that I got to be in about not just being a team. Lots of different places can have a team, but you saw it in your home country and in your clubs in Australia. You've seen it professionally in Japan. Talk about this connection now and how crucial that is for the longevity of rugby here in Utah, man.
Yeah, it's crucial. You just got to look around the world and you see the best teams, whether it be rugby, football, soccer, like we like to call it down here, whatever sport it is, every successful or truly successful team, and when I talk success, I don't talk 1 or 2 year title holders. I talk, teams that have been around 10, 20, 30, 50 years. They've all got that very strong community-based programs that involve the youth and that pathway, and this definitely opens that up. And I was very excited when I first got the opportunity to take the job of the success, and Owen just touched on the success that's coming around through the community in rugby, but to have that talent and now that pathway as a head coach. Not only is it important to get the titles, but for me, being so passionate about this sport, it's about passing on that knowledge to not only the up-and-coming players, but then also up-and-coming coaches as well, so that we get that continuous passing down of the baton of the experiences that I had, the knowledge that I've been able to gain in playing this game for well over 15 years now, and now to have that opportunity to pass that on in a pathway in Utah is very exciting. And it's something that I'm sure in 10, 15 years' time, we'll look back and we'll say that, we were part of that, and it was an exciting time. And now we can really see how that has just transformed rugby in the state of Utah.
Talk about the difference it made for you in Japan as you started in your professional coaching career there. The difference in the clubs that just went out and paid for high-value talent and the clubs that invested that same money in building all the different layers and levels that we're seeing now. And then we'll get to a question from Michael that just popped up here as one of our Facebook fans.
Yeah, I was very lucky, obviously, having had played and coached in Japan. And, I see the MLR and the Utah Warriors very similar to a lot of the clubs over there in their early days, where you had certain clubs just spending a lot of money on just each year buying talent in and getting short-term success here and there. And then you had clubs that really invested in making sure that they grew their hometown, their home state, their home area in talent, and they invested a lot in school rugby and programs and in the universities, and started relationships there with universities and high schools and things like that. And they're the clubs that you see today that are superior in success. They're the ones that have been around. They're the ones that now they don't really need to chase rock stars, because the rock stars want to be involved in those clubs because they've got the youth, they've got the strength of the local players, and ultimately it's the local players that are going to win you titles. It's the local players that are going to sustain you and make sure you have longevity in whatever you do. So it's like I said before, it's a very special time. It's an exciting time, and it's one now that I hope the state of Utah can really get behind and start supporting, because we are now providing that pathway for every kid.
Starting at the youth level when they're 8 years old and coming up all the way through the ranks. Chris, you're an absolute legend. We'll get back to you in just a second. I want to bring Brandon Sparks back and go to this question from Warriors Nation. And Michael Redder asked, are you all considering the Four Corners area to join the program, considering Utah is within close proximity to both New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona? Brandon, obviously, we want to expand and be the premier program in our region. Talk about expanding now from Utah Youth Rugby to maybe looking ahead at some of these other high school programs and even college programs across our region.
Yeah. Obviously us being where we're at, we're the prominent franchise in the area. So it is important for us to make sure that we're expanding our reach into these other states, including New Mexico, Arizona, Wyoming, Idaho, and the rest that are within driving distance of us, both inviting their players up to join and be a part of our programs, but then us going down there and make sure that we're servicing the rugby community in those states in their backyards. So
clinics, combines, and things like that.
Yeah, and the great thing about this academy system is we're going to be encouraging these kids to go on to college and pursue some kind of higher education, whether it be a trade program, a 4-year degree, an associate's, whatever, what have you. So the more kids that we're able to identify in our region and then track over their college careers, if they go on to college, the better it is for us in our talent ID, and then their development as well too.
Thank you, Brandon. Let's bring Owen Power back and talk about the access that this gives Utah Youth Rugby. Owen, you've done such an amazing job in your whole team in managing these kids and taking them on some of these overseas tours, exposing them to top-level rugby. Talk about how much it means to you to have access now to the coaching staff, to the management resources that a professional sports team has for you, your team, and the kids that you're working with.
Well, Banksy, it's incredible. Just think, there's a head coach, Chris Latham, right there. I mean, when the Warriors announced that he was the head coach, I went, "Wow, isn't he still playing?" I mean, I've been watching and looking up to as a fan of rugby generally, and now he's right here in our backyard, and now he can participate in all of this. He'll be part of that process, but having access to that caliber of individual in rugby is just incredible. That means that our coaches can get so much better by learning from the resources within the Warriors. That translates into better players, have much more success at college. Some of them will go on to be Warriors themselves. I mean, this is just phenomenal. We just never had this opportunity before. And if you wanted it, you had to pay thousands of dollars to travel, cross country, even out of the country to be able to do that. This is so exciting, Banksy.
Owen Power, president of Utah Youth Rugby. Let's go to Chris Latham now. We got a question from Chandler Evans in Warrior Nation. And he said, what is the plan as far as coaching for this academy side? Will coaches be hired by the Warriors, or what will the selection process be? What kind of access are coaches in this new academy system going to have to the first team coaching? And I know you're really big on education and connection and giving back to our local community, and, community, one of our big pillars at the Utah Warriors. How do you see that continuing to grow and build from the high school and collegiate levels directly to the first team?
Mate, it's a full open book. It's one of those things where you've got coaches that want to come in and learn. They can come and watch while we're training the Warriors, see what we're doing, come into the meetings, see how we present to players, communicate with players, how we then put that, and that process attaches to on-field coaching. Mate, I'm an open book. I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing that I'm not willing to share to anyone. And and as we've done before, we've been out to colleges and we've helped coaches out, we've helped programs out, and that'll continue to do that as well. So again, it's just a matter of a simple phone call, a simple email, and teeing up times, and
the door's really open. And this is the thing I love about what we've been able to do with our culture here at the Utah Warriors that's different from any of the other clubs. Is it's not about taking everything and siphoning it up to make the Warriors as best as it can be. It's really as much about taking all of the assets and the expertise, the training and the education, all the years of experience that our staff has, and sending it out into the community. It doesn't do us any good as rugby players, fans, coaches, commentators, entertainers to be able to hold on to all of our information. Our information is only good when we share it. And that's where I think the real key and beauty of this program is. And thank you to someone like you who has left your door open for so many of our coaches and staff to be able to come in and just knock and ask.
Well, Banksy, we've got to build that foundation. And, obviously with strong foundations, we can create anything. We can build the highest building we want if we've got the strong foundation. And that's about having an open door and making sure that we build the strongest foundation we possibly can. And, I was lucky enough to play and be coached by some of the best coaches and best players in the world. And, it'd be a shame to leave that go and without sharing it, without passing it down. And that's what we got to do. That's what I love about this game. It's a game that it's not discriminative. It's a game that's played 238 countries in the world or something like that. It's got the most participants, second to soccer, in the world. And it's an amazing game. It's a game that I love dearly and I'm very passionate about, as I've said. So just willing to share as much as we possibly can to everyone.
Let's go back to Brandon Sparks now with a question from online. What does a player need to do to be recognized and identified as we look at this academy system? This is from Rob Hammerschmidt in Warriors Nation. What do they have to do to first get in that pathway, and what kind of costs are going to be involved, or do you envision the kind of travel to take part in this academy system? Once they're recognized as one of our top prospects and they're part of our Warriors Academy, what does that mean for a player? If I'm a young man ready to go play footy?
Yeah. Rob, first off, love the podcast. Thanks for watching our town hall here. So as far as like the cost, we're going to try to make it as cost effective as possible. We took a really hard look around the American sports landscape at what was happening with the academies. I think the closest relative to rugby would have been what was happening with USA Soccer. And one of the big feedbacks when you talk to people associated with USA Soccer, both in leadership but then as customers, spoke about how the academy system had become it had started to price kids out. And when you start to price kids out, you start to lose talent. And we know as an emerging sport that we need to make this as cost effective as possible. It's not going to be free per se. Entry points will cost money, but once they're into our pathway, the resources and opportunities for them to keep this as the cost on them as low as possible will exist, either through fundraising, through grants, whatever, what have you. So yeah, we want to keep it really, really cost effective because we don't want to lose talent, and we don't want kids and we don't want families and parents to feel like rugby isn't accessible to them simply because of a price tag.
So let's flip back over now to Michael Redder again. He said he was a youth rugby player, and back in high school, what's something he can do as a player to be recognized and find his way in? Where are those opportunities? Who are you finding or sending out to be able to recognize these players? And I can actually go to Owen on this too, because I know he's got eyeballs in every club and camp all over the state.
Yeah. Well, for the first part, I'll just say that we do actually have a scouting network that's really active. I actually had a great conversation with one of our scouts over the weekend up in the Pacific Northwest about a player. So their kids, those guys are always out looking and seeing what talent is available from the club level all the way down to the high school level. And then obviously, getting into any of our ID camps, combine, skill camps, whatever, is a great way. And also don't be hesitant to go onto that YouTube channel or our Facebook page, the Utah Warriors main one, and look at how to build. We made videos leading up to the draft on how to build a highlight reel and how to build a rugby CV. Don't hesitate to reach out and do it the old fashioned way and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Please take a look. And we'll give you an honest assessment, and we'll take a look, see at what you send us.
I think this goes back to the open door policy that starts with Latho and trickles down through the rest of the organization, yourself included. If you have a question, feel free to reach out and ask, guys. I've never been involved or seen another organization at every level more open and available to the fans and to our community than the Utah Warriors are here. Let's flip back to Owen Power from Utah Youth Rugby now and talk about player identification. How did you do it with Utah Youth Rugby that's going to continue now with the Utah Warriors Academy as you look at identifying the best players in the best places to be able to bring them together into one program?
Well, that's a big question. We work very closely with the Warriors already, which has been very exciting. As a good example, we're currently in our fall 7 season right now, and the Warriors have a presence there. Not only are they sponsoring a player of the tournament for both the boys and the girls each week, but their presence there, they're watching some of the games, they're identifying some players coming up through the ranks, they're getting to talk to parents and kids. So the close relationship that we have with the Warriors is already working and in play. And so, they're getting opportunities there. And in addition to that, we've had some clubs take up the Warriors opportunities to go and have the Warriors guys come and actually train with their clubs and do some workouts with them. And that way the Warriors get to have a real good close-up and personal look at the players as they play. And more importantly, just as importantly, the coaches get to be involved and share their ideas. What we did through the All-Star programs is we would have All-Star tournaments. We'd invite kids to come and play, break it down into smaller groups that way. But coaches that would make recommendations all the time. We've always had internal coaches as part of that All-Star program, so they knew their players and they could invite kids to. Lots of different ways to do it. We try and broadcast as many of our games as what we can on YouTube. So, there's always good footage there for the Warriors and anybody else that wants to have a look at our players to take a look-see.
It's a digital world, man. There's all kinds of ways to get your skills and your assets in front of the right eyeballs, and really the sky's the limit with your creativity, both on and off the field. Let's go to Andrea Briggs here from Warriors Nation. Said her son was in the Warriors Academy in 2019. She said he grew leaps and bounds during that experience. How will this allow for spring 15s? And I think that may be as much a question for Brandon as Coach Latham. Let's go to Coach first. Now that somebody's been in that program, what type of player are you looking for, Coach, to be part of the Warriors Nation and that mentality? I know you talked about just the honesty and teachability in the first meeting that I was able to sit in with you as head coach here. What are some other qualities and characteristics in a player that you're specifically looking for as a coach?
Yeah, I guess for a player coming out of the program, we want to see leadership. We want to see authority from that person going back to whatever club it is. And we want them to start, I guess, preaching the Warriors way. And essentially that's what we want to see. And then from there, it's about making sure that they continue to grow on their core skills, their individual core skills. And then I guess it's just a matter of keeping in touch with that communication between us as coaches and them as players. And, we'll do our due diligence on watching them play and see how their growth goes. And essentially that's pretty much how it all runs. I mean, we want to see those players come in, but then there's an ownership on those players. They need to stand up and they need to make sure that it's not just about once you get in the door with this program, that's essentially the easy part. The hard part
where it starts.
Yeah, that's the easy part. That's where it all starts. And, some people might think, well, it's actually hard to get in. Well, the reality is, if you want to be a professional rugby player, then it's, getting into the first program or getting into your first team. That is essentially the easiest thing that you'll find once you get in. It is staying there. It's improving. It's about putting in the hard work, and it's about continuously evolving. And that's hard. It's tremendously hard work. And, they're the things that we want to see from individuals, from young men and women and young women in programs, is that you get that continual growth.
And well, that's very much your story as well, as you came into the code and took up your position with your local club and working a regular job, family, and all those demands, as well as trying to work your way into top level footy. It's not like it's here's a pathway because I said so. You've actually lived it and breathed it and done it as part of your background story.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing soccer and I didn't have much to do with rugby, and then fell into rugby through club level. Played rugby at club level purely because I enjoyed it. It wasn't necessarily to become a professional rugby player. I just loved the game and I loved playing it. And then the further I got and the more years I kept playing club football, the more I started making teams, and the more teams I started to make, it actually dawned on me that the harder I was having to work to keep in those teams or to keep getting selected. And then, and then I was fortunate enough to get one of the first Super Rugby contracts that came out. And what I thought I was doing was a lot of hard work. I can tell you now, I wasn't even a scratch when I got that first professional contract. So again, you may think you're working hard, but once you start getting into a professional program, that's when the sleeves need to be rolled up and you start to really work hard for your position and keeping that.
So that's the expectation from players, parents. Just know going in that when you get that letter saying congratulations, you're a part of the academy, that's when the hard work really begins. You haven't made it. You've just got to the starting line. Let's go to Brandon Sparks now with a question from Sam Madsen, who's part of our Referees Association here and been connected to the community for years. He brings up a great point with the strength of the girls' high school programs now on the rise here, as well as the women's program collegiately at BYU and other places, including like the Lady Vipers from the women's club team here. Is there a plan to include women in an expanded academy in the near future?
In the near future, yeah, it is within our 3-year goal. to include the women high school players. Where we see our value really impacting the girls' high school game is at the youth level. So us dedicating more time to educate and get female players involved in rugby, we think will grow that pool. And by the time that we commit to going into that girls' high school rugby academy, there should be 30% more players than what we started if we commit to that youth.
Well, I imagine the big resource right now, and this is a question to follow up with that from Tonga Ika. Will there be any free coaching clinics and the resources available to the community? We kind of touched on this earlier. 100%, absolutely, yes. If you're running a girls program or any program at the youth level, Tonga, there are these resources available from both Brandon and Coach Latham all the way down to you directly.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he took advantage of the free webinars that we held. That was shared to all of the local SYOs or the state-based organizations around us. Those are still available. You're welcome to reach out to us, and we can get you in touch with that. You guys are also always more than welcome. Right now we have the Selects program going on. You're welcome to come out and shadow that. And as Chris said too, don't be hesitant to reaching out and seeing if there's a training session or two that you can come and shadow and sit in and see how we operate.
Let's bring everybody back now here if we can, and just kind of wrap this up. Again, a big congratulations. And if you haven't heard the announcement, the Utah Warriors combining with Utah Youth Rugby, thanks to the hard work of men like Owen Power and Brandon Sparks in connecting our community, all under the guidance of Chris Latham as our head coach. And a big shout out to Kimball Kerr as well for, I know, all the things that he does behind the scenes to put this all together and to build on the foundations of tradition that we have in our community and in our rugby community here in the state of Utah. The Utah Youth Rugby program and the Utah Cannibals specifically now becoming the Utah Warriors Youth Academy as part of that pathway program. So now there is a real path for kids as they come up through the junior high and high school ranks to play through high school, to play through college, to play through even men's club level with Park City Haggis, with the Utah men's Premier Division teams, and all the other men's clubs around, to play up through now the selects and have a direct pathway into the Warriors. So there's a real line of ambition now for our community here. And I just want to thank all of you gentlemen for putting that together, for combining your time, your efforts, and your skill sets to opening the doors for our community, gentlemen. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Banksy.
All right. I don't think we have any other questions from Warriors Nation. If that's it, we'll wrap it up there with our big announcement. And thank you, everyone, for being here at our town hall. Don't forget, I believe, Brandon, there are still a few tickets left for the Selects versus All-Stars game this weekend.
10. Right now, 10. It's going to be a sellout.
10 is it? Okay, let's go. If you want to come, look, it's live sports. It's rugby. It's what we've waited for. We missed out on our season. Chris, can't wait to get you back in country and chug ahead with everything that we've got going on here, mate. And thank you so much for leading this Warriors Nation, Latho.
It's exciting times. It's exciting times to be a Utah Warrior, and it's exciting time to be in the state of Utah. So I can't wait to get back there and really get my teeth into it and start winning titles and start producing the next USA rugby player.
Absolutely. And again, a big congratulations to you, Owen, for all your hard work and all the years that you put in with the Utah Cannibals and the youth program and all the hours and days and weeks that you've put into investing in our kids and our community. Thank you so much. And this has got to be an absolute feather in your cap to see it now become this academy program, mate.
Thanks. I'm just grateful to be a part of rugby. What a great sport.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to our community, you guys. Thank you, Warriors Nation. Pick up those last 10 tickets for the Selects versus All-Stars this weekend, and we'll see you out there for some rugby and catch up with everything on social media. All the links, obviously, you found us here. Utah Warriors Rugby, if you want to find us. And thank you so much.
Have a good night.